The senior ministry of the Alfred Street Baptist Church is proud to present This Is My Story. This series is presented in conjunction with our celebration of Black History Month and highlights the lives of 5 movers and shakers of our church. Our voices were often silenced, but now we have a chance to speak and paint our own portraits, reviving our oral tradition. By keeping the memory of our past, we claim the key to our future. So we invite you to join us in our journey as we document Black historical moments from some of our own here at the Alfred Street Baptist Church.
My name is Leroy Miles.
My name is Johnnie Harris Miles, and this is my story. I was born in Columbus, Mississippi, 7th of 8 children to John and Willie Harris. My mother was a domestic and my father a laborer. Columbus was a typical Mississippi city. Everything was segregated. They didn't mix for the most part. You stay in your place. And people of color were greeted as boy, girl, no matter how old they were, or as the one that really bothered me the most was Aunt Susie, or Auntie, even though there was no relationship. I can remember when we got our very first television, everyone would gather at their homes and we would watch TV together. But when the weather was good and the TV was blacked out for no good reason, whenever there were blacks on TV, they would black it out to prevent people from seeing blacks on TV. I mean, now that's going a ways to do that. When I was growing up, I didn't know that Nat King Cole had a show because it was blacked out in Mississippi. You'd have this long period of blackness, and then the show would come back on. They didn't want people of color to see blacks in positive roles or to see blacks in comparable roles with whites that you didn't see in our town. And I also think that they did that because they didn't want whites to get accustomed to seeing blacks in those roles either. If blacks couldn't enjoy it, neither could whites. If blacks couldn't see it, neither could whites. And so Martin Luther King was absolutely right. We're all in it, together. I went to Rust College in Holly Springs, Mississippi. I majored in biology and minored in math and chemistry. But after getting to college and getting involved, I decided that I would teach. In college, I was very actively involved in organizations and then got involved in movement activities. In my sophomore year and in my junior year, I became actively involved with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. In 1963, there were a lot of things that were going on, like the March on Washington, which I participated in. And I marched on Washington with the National Student YWCA. We were at a retreat the weekend that the bombing took place at 16th Street in Birmingham. We raced back to the campus and then had a rally so that we did not march when we were the most angry. But it was just such a horrific incident. I don't think there was a single soul on that campus, staff, faculty, or student, who did not participate in that rally because we were hurting, we were in pain. And you can't sit on the sidelines at critical times like that. You either have to be a part of the solution or you're a part of the problem. I would like to say to the young people today and the generations after us is that change is not easy. It only happens when people act. If you want things to change, I think you really do have to commit yourself and take some action. Who was it? Mahatma Gandhi, one of the quotes that I remember by him is to be the change you want to see.
I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama in the early 40s. I was born in 1939. I'm one of 11 children. My father was a laborer. He worked for a while at the railroad. My mother was a housewife. Birmingham was a part of the real struggles in terms of civil rights in the country. One of the things I remember first was Reverend Shuttlesworth, who led the civil rights march in Birmingham. They bombed his house. it kind of stirred up a lot of things for people in Birmingham. We were more afraid of the police in Birmingham than anything. I mean, the policemen, they just harassed us no matter what. Anywhere we go, anything we did, we just be on the corners having fun. Here comes the police, and they use us as something to play with. A lot of my friends did go to jail, and for nothing. A lot of things they didn't really do. What they did basically was harass us. Sometimes we would just run from them, and we ran from it because if we stood there, we were in trouble, and we ran, we were also in trouble. So we didn't really know what to do. The police was just very, very difficult to get with. They really, for some reason, I just never thought the police was my friend. I just never did. And we never ran to the police and asked them to help us out or anything because they was always after us. So it was really a tough situation in Birmingham when it comes to police. And then, remember Bull Connor? Bull Connor was police chief. He's the one who organized all of the hosing and the whipping and all that of the kids, of the demonstration they had in Birmingham. And I'd had one encounter with Bull Connor. At school, I had another job working as a delivery boy for the drugstore. And Bull Connor was one of the drugstore's customers. So what I did, I went out and took him some medicine one night. And I went there and took the medicine to him. He opened the door, snatched the medicine out of my hand, slammed the door in my face. When I got to that bottom step, I took off. Because I was really afraid. I didn't go to the march in Selma because I had no way of really getting there from Tuskegee because I was in college at that time. And so what I did, a bunch of us went to Montgomery at the church where they organized the march to the Capitol, and I was involved in that.
I met my husband at the apartment of a friend of ours, and then we were introduced, and I was told that he was a returned Peace Corps volunteer. And working at the Y, I went, great, potential program speaker. And so I told him what I did, and I told him that maybe one of these days he could come to the Y and talk to the students about the Peace Corps. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Well, my wife and I both went to Indiana University in 1968. That's the same year Martin Luther King died. And so I got there, and Johnny got a job working. I used to clean the football stadiums on the weekend to make enough money to last that week. And my major professor said, you really want to get through, don't I? I said, yes, sir, I really want to get through. And I got a scholarship after that. My favorite scripture, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I like that. And my favorite hymn is Come Thou Fount. And also Through It All, because when you talk about through it all, we've been through a lot to get where we are. And I prospered by that.